Back we are. We are back. I tell you, there is always something to come and test, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to keep pushing on. I'm going to keep pushing forward. We're going to keep this show moving. I don't know what in the world happened just then. And now I just hope that it didn't just go out again, because now I don't hear something in my, I don't hear it in my earphones. Let's go live. Okay, we're counting down.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects. It always trusts. It always hopes. It always perseveres. Love.
Thank you guys so much for coming back with us. I'm so glad you guys came back. We are ready. I can hear. I believe everyone can hear me. Hopefully my guest can hear as well. We can definitely going to be able to hear him now. So let's go back to our guest. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again. Our guest for today, Benjamin Carlton.
Hey, Coach D, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. It's so good to see you.
It's good to be seen, sir. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to have you. Thank you so much for coming on to our show, for supporting us in the beginning. I'm so excited. You already know.
I have not been, I will tell you, I have not been engaged in social media since December of 2020. And so because you are my friend and I love you, I agreed to.
You are my friend.
That's one of my favorite songs. I love it.
Did we join? Did you send me an invite? I didn't see it. Okay. Yes, that is one of my faves as well. And you listen, thank you so much for being that friend. And we're going to cover a whole lot about that whole, because listen, you are amazing when it comes to bouncing those ideas. And, as I'm getting more and more acclimated to, to this calling, man, it is a beautiful thing to be amongst the like-minded, to be amongst the, the lovers among us, so to speak, those that are ascending to that place of unconditional love. It is a more than a notion journey.
Absolutely.
It is more than a nursing journey. So welcome.
Hey.
Let's talk about love, my brother.
Wow. Love. We can talk about love all day.
Well, let's talk about it for an hour.
Yes.
Look, I got a little bit of I even have a little bit of spirits to carry us the rest of the way. Amen.
You got the spirits. I can't do what to carry me. I got to focus later.
Okay. We got focus. I'm trying to do this dual screen, and is it not doing it? You guys see both of us? So let's talk about. I want to start with we're going to talk about love, but I want to start with your love for what you do, your love, where that love drove you to the whole co-foundership. I want to talk about love from that perspective. Let's start there.
So, there are some things in life that you can try to run from. And at the end of the day, those things will be looking right at you no matter where you land. And so ever since I was a young guy, I always wanted to serve people and make people smile and make people happy. And it showed up in various forms. I wanted to be a police officer. Well, that's what I thought police officers made people smile. Um, I wanted to be an ice cream truck driver. I wanted to be a bus driver. I wanted to be a garbage man. I mean, nobody got happier and more excited than when the garbage man was driving around the block. So, and that was for a number of reasons. One, I probably was seeking a little bit of validation. What can I do to make people love me? But two, I just love the reaction and seeing people smile. And so many of the endeavors that I've done, I've co-founded a BE community, which is the largest social entrepreneurship network for Black men in America. But the foundation of that organization was based in a love of self and a love of us as Black people. How can we tell more informed, powerful stories that uplift us and show the genuine love that we have as a people? And we've grown over the past 7 years, have raised hundreds of millions of dollars, and have just poured out love on so many communities across the country.
That is awesome. I was watching and seeing watching during the whole George Floyd, and you're like you were just endlessly active. I mean, just burning the candle on sides that it didn't even exist, even on the side, in the back, and the front, like every march and every, and you can tell that wasn't just coming from a place of, as a Black man, that we got to stop this stuff from happening. There was a whole different level of love for somebody to go back after they were shooting rubber bullets. That part right there, that spoke volumes to me.
Yeah, I often wondered, and as a child, I always would ask, like my mom, I wonder what grandmom was doing during Martin Luther King. I wonder what was it, because they were alive. And it's like, were you there? Were you out there? How did you not experience and witness this history? And so we could not be in a fight of our lives and I not take part in whatever regard and whatever way that looked like. And so I always encourage people to use your resources, use what's in your arsenal to push the needle forward, whatever that is, whether it's writing, whether it's talking, whether it's marching, whether it's donating, whatever it is, use that to push the needle forward. And my gift is pulling people together. My gift is speaking, and my gift is encouraging people. So I was out there encouraging people on the battlefield. I was out there speaking and leading marches. I mean, we led 30,000 plus people in Beverly Hills, and just lifting up our voices and giving people a space to express their need, to express their right to love, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. There you are. Hey.
I got it. Took a little while. But okay, so liberty and the pursuit of happiness. The most awesome part about that was there were the age groups. It was just like there were very, very young up to people who, were even close to needing access, to walk themselves. But he's just, see this plan.
But they were out there, and
yes,
that was the most disheartening part, is watching other human beings. You might have a badge on, you may have a uniform, you have a gun, but to watch you shoot a rubber bullet and tear gas toward a crowd full of senior citizens and babies and kids. I mean, there's one picture where there's an officer who has his huge gun faced toward or pointed towards a man and who has his son on his shoulder. I mean, where is your love and humanity? And so that's what broke me. That's what sent me home wailing and weeping. Like, what world are we living in where I'm witnessing that in my time?
Exactly. And that was the most mind-blowing thing for me, is that this is 2020, not 1965 Mississippi. And they are literally, and the thing is that so many people, they weren't, it was like, be home, as it's curfew, but we're going to block you in so you can't make the curfew.
Right. It's terrible. And that really demonstrated, I mean, Christ tells us that there's no greater love than for you to lay down your life for a friend. And throughout all of 2020, people were just laying down their lives, making sacrifices for people that they didn't even know. I don't know George Floyd, never met him, didn't
Right.
know him for this, didn't know, Freddie Gray, didn't know Trayvon Martin, didn't know, but we're willing because they are us. The sooner
Exactly.
we get to a place of I am you and you are me, and what's done to you is done to me, the better off we'll be as a society. And that is the basis of love. That's the foundation of love. I am
Abs-
you, you are me.
Absolutely. And that was the most disheartening thing for me this yesterday. I'm watching Dante's mother talking to Robin Roberts, and my heart came out of my chest. I'm the mother of two young Black men, and it's like I posted something today that my fear of copycat serial killers has me wanting to text my son and tell him to take his air freshener out of his windshield. And the crazy thing is, the copycat serial killer is not some crazed person I'm speaking about. I'm talking about the police.
Oh no, they're crazed. They're just in a badge and a uniform. And they
It's
hide
just
behind it, but they're not mentally right. They're evil.
it's evil's agents. That is what we are here to combat. That is what love is here to cover. That is what we are here to jump on. And let's let that be a segue as we were talking about self-love and that whole piece. In a recent conversation I was sharing with you about how 2021 is the year of accountability.
Yeah.
Accountability breeds personal power. There's something empowering about loving yourself enough to take your power back in areas that you've handed it over. And, they're being kindred spirits. I had that same testimony. I always wanted people to smile. I wanted people to laugh. And I overextended myself to the point where I wanted people to smile at all costs, even if it cost me. And that got really exhausting. And I realized that this kind of love, I'm so busy trying to show this outside, but I'm not taking the opportunity to sip this cup before I pass it. So, after recalibrating and finding out on this side, like, hey, if we all got this a little earlier, a lot of us would be a lot further, but it's not too late. I feel that I have had such an awesome aha moment. The empowerment that accountability brings has brought me to a place of, gosh, why didn't I do this all the time? Why didn't I just it just seems like something so simple, but because of our upbringing, our whatever, our who we're around, our perspective gets to a place where we don't realize that the chair swivels. Yeah. And that we don't have to look this way.
Yeah.
I said a lot to say. You brought something up about that whole thing with accountability, and you were sharing about this time. There's certain things that people need to understand that, listen, you've been walking for however many years. You should at least be able to walk by now.
Yes.
Or you want to elaborate on that point that you were sharing with me?
So one of the things, and this was even concerning love and my fear of opening up again and loving again. I love hard. I love pure. I really don't have an in between. You either get none of me or you get all of me. And you got to be able to handle all this sauce that's coming because it's a lot.
Amen.
And I'm able to give a lot of people a lot of attention, or I'm able to give one person all that attention. And so in my pursuit of love, I was doubting myself, doubting my ability to even be able to find the purest of love that I'm looking for. And I was reintroduced to love recently. And it was just too easy. And I was like, something something's not right here.
Right.
Like
Right.
somebody's about to come from around the corner and say, "Gotcha."
You waiting for that shoe to drop.
Right, right. Something's not right here. It's too easy. And the Spirit said, "Who told you it's supposed to be hard? Who
That is,
told you love was supposed to be hard? Who told you that relationships were supposed to be hard?" That's a learned pattern.
it
That
is
is a
a
learned
learned
behavior.
behavior.
God is the standard of love.
It's
And
unconditional.
how hard is it for you to love God and God to love you? Ain't easy. And if He is the standard is easy. We make love difficult. We make relationships difficult. And that extended to, there's some things at this point, there's some things at this stage in our lives that just should be easy. I've
Right.
been walking for the past 30 some years. If it's not something medical that's hindering me from walking, walking
Correct.
comes, walking should be easy. And there are certain things at this stage in our lives that should be very easy. And if they are not, it is
And there's
self-inflicted,
something.
because
Come
we are
on.
the only ones that could stop it at this age, right? We're
Absolutely.
accountability for yourself, accountability for your actions. You have to snatch your happiness back from people. You got to
That's correct.
snatch your heart back from people. I control this, you don't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is because it's so practiced and it's so accepted and it's just okay. People would just as soon get on board with you in your sadness, or let's say there was a disagreement, and let you know how right you are to feel bad and how right you are to be mad at this person, and they'll jump in on that. But it's so much more difficult to get on board with, hey, you control how you respond. I tell people there would never be an instant where a person can hurt my feelings again. And people are like, what? No. You can't hurt my feelings because, first of all, I have to give you that. I know how to take a situation, examine it, look at who the other person is, because I don't say offender because I'm not offended. I am not going to get off my end by something someone else says. I am here standing right in my spot, standing my ground. So therefore, when people say, oh, she made me mad, he made me mad, how does that happen? Because my power remains with me at all times. So therefore, if someone who I love says something, I look at who's saying it and I'm thinking, okay, this is someone who loves me, and therefore what's coming from them is never meant for my harm. So how am I going to get mad or whatever, upset, my feelings hurt? And then if it's someone who means me ill, then I know how to change my proximity for that person without them getting me off of my end. Do you know what I mean? And that all came with me loving myself enough to know that my moments are too precious for me to waste them on you stealing my joy. Joy is never stolen. Joy is handed over. That is I stand by that. Like, yeah. Oh, that's joy stealing.
He who angers you controls you.
Period.
He who angers you controls you. The better you are at setting expectations of people, right, and accepting their truth and reality, the better you are in relationship with them. If someone is always late, guess what? You're always late.
Period.
If someone never tells the truth, guess what? I'll never expect the truth from you.
And that's the thing. One thing, as we arrive to unconditional love, the people who are in our lives that we genuinely love, we love them right where they are, with no expectations of being anyone other than who they told us they were.
Right.
So why are you upset when who they introduced to you is who they become? And then you're talking about he's a liar. He told you that early on.
First of all, one of my friends said, a red flag is simply that, a red flag. If you choose to ignore it, that's your stupidity.
Yeah, you're calling it a matador enticer. You're calling, a bull enticer. It's a red flag.
It's a red flag. It's not a green light. It's not a yellow light. It's a red flag. And it's that.
And
flame
you
and
hit the gas instead of hitting brakes. That is where you, and I'm telling you, the accountability is what really will set a person free. And that in and of itself, because you know, victimization, pity parties, that whole thing with misery to loving company. Misery sends out invitations, but you don't have to accept them. So therefore, I've decided, like, when you think um, of a person who is seeking love or seeking validation, most times there was a avenue of some sort of rejection or some sort of, childhood trauma. And sometimes in life we hold on to those things, because I was one of those people. Listen, honey, I had a story for you. I got the cover, the front, the back, the middle. What part you want? The end, and it, because that happened to me. Oh yeah, because that happened to me. Because that happened to me. When does it become I had a traumatic experience instead of saying I was traumatized? Because that says I stay here. And at that moment, whatever the trauma is and whoever caused it are still in the control.
absolutely.
Blame will never facilitate healing.
Yeah, you'll never get anywhere, because most times even the person you're blaming won't give you the expected results that you're looking for to facilitate the healing. Along the lines of personal accountability, I often tell people, especially when dating and when looking for love, is that you have to check your tolerance level, right? If I come into a situation whole, I'm not going to tolerate anything that is beneath the level I set.
Mm-hmm.
But when I come in and I'm desperate for something, your desperation determines your toleration.
That's
If
true.
you're desperate, you will tolerate anything. If you want somebody to love you, hug you, boo you up, cuddle you at night, and you really, really yearning for that, you'll tolerate a little cheating. You'll tolerate a little lying. You'll tolerate a little disrespect because your desperation level is too high. You've got to
Mm-hmm.
be full and whole and take accountability for your own action. I hug myself. I need to look at the camera. I'm looking at you in agreement, but realizing I'm
Okay.
looking at the camera. Myself, I bought myself a full body pillow that wraps me up at night
Come on
because
now.
I need to be whole within myself so that I'm not willing to tolerate anything that is less than what I'm willing to expect. So the higher your desperation, the higher your tolerance. The lower your desperation, you can smell it coming through the door. Negro, turn around. You ain't it.
It's not you. And I told
It's
someone
not.
the other day, I give myself goosebumps now. Myself. Okay? Like,
Ooh.
listen. So, listen, you have to at least meet me where I am. If you can't beat me where I am, at least meet me where I am, because I am enjoying this journey by myself. I am enjoying the power that comes with being accountable for everything in my life. Because when I look at those things that may have been painful, or those things that may have scarred me or whatever, holding on to that gave that person that much more of me, that much more power. And then when you think about, I think about people who suffer in breakups and suffer in the music, the society, your friends, everybody's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Why is realizing that someone is not for you the time that you self-harm? Why are we not automatically grateful for what happens with this thing ending when we know it's not for us? But
But that's
wait, let me just, we're not for, but what we will do, because we don't know what's going to happen. All we know is what was with this person. However, let's look on the other hand. If a woman's having a baby, we have no idea what the sex of this baby, what this child's going to turn out. It's going to be a mass murderer. If they're going to turn around, break their heart. But everyone is celebratory. We're so excited. We don't know this person, right? We don't know what kind of, but it's automatically assumed to be joyous. And we don't have any problem not knowing what that outcome is. So now that I'm going to be single, why is it devastating? I have to eat myself, drink myself to death, do all these things that are harmful to me because this person is no longer in my life and I can't handle that. Because instead of me saying, wow, I wonder what awaits me, now that I know what is not for me is no longer here. Like,
well, a couple of things. I mean, you know, we go on forever, you and I. A couple of things. One, most of us come into new relationships. Most of us come into new lives with pre-scripted narratives about what this thing is supposed to be.
true
We don't
that.
have any room for authenticity, growth, and many of us have had this pre-scripted narrative since we were kids.
5.
We've not let go of the fantasy life. We've not let go of the fantasy relationship. We've not let go of the picket fence, the White House, the dog. We've not let that go. So everybody we meet, we unfairly impute that image of whatever was in our head of a relationship is on them to meet that. Number two, when we lose that, yes, we're heartbroken over them. Yes, we are sad about them, but we're triggered because that idea that we've had since we were younger has now once again failed. And we are triggered again with all those letdowns, emotions, whatever it is that comes along with that. So it has generally nothing to do with the person. And that is something I had to realize every time that I broke up with somebody and the same feelings came up. And I said, wait a minute. Whenever there's a common denominator, it generally is that. And common denominator is me. Because
that part.
there's no way that the same person, I mean, different people are bringing the same type of hurt and
Same
pain.
results. Exactly. Exactly.
It is I. I am the
It be I. That be me. I am
It be
people.
me. I need to be
I am
accountable
people.
for what's going on in me and stop putting that responsibility on other people who are clearly haven't been called to that purpose.
Right. And which brings me, that fairy tale that you speak of is what led me to write the book. That very thing that we've been looking for and been set up from the get up to expect, to look for, is what has us out here searching for something. Even for those of us that didn't come from families or homes that look like that, it still was not beyond our scope because you're fed these fairy tales. You see it around there, all your images, you know. And then someone mentioned when I talk about when I was talking about, someone said that's not human nature, and that is exactly why Coach D is in existence, because human nature will have us stuck with these perspectives. It's not human nature to accept the situation and say, okay, that's not for me, but something else out there could be better. But the fact that, number one, there's no accountability, and secondly, if there was self-love, most of the time the person who is upset about that, it's like, I won't be able to do better than that. That was in the bag for me. Now I got to work at finding something else when that was it, you know. And it's just, it's so common, and it's so, I mean, you see women jump into relationships, you see men jump into relationships, and next thing you know, wait a minute, didn't you just meet them 2 weeks ago? Oh, we're engaged. You know,
I crack up every time I see it. Child, they'll be over in a couple weeks. It's no way you could throw a cake in the oven and it is done in 5 minutes. If it is, you're going to be in the hospital sick. There's no way you throw a turkey in the oven and it is done in 10 minutes. You are in trouble. There's no way that you have bypassed every level of relationship building in 2 weeks and now y'all booze and bays, and it takes time. I generally, this has been crazy. All of the serious relationships in my life have been with friends.
People who you've known or have.
I've known for years, and it was like, oh, wait a minute. We like each other. Who knew? And so, it is, you know, people, because again, that desperation for whatever that is, right? The image, the companionship, the title, wanting to keep up with the Joneses. Your desperation is so high that you're willing to tolerate what is beneath your worth, and jumping into something like that so quickly is not healthy.
Right. And it is an indicator of something, there's a deficiency 9 times out of 10. And you're trying to meet
10
that
times out of 9.
deficiency. 10 times out of 9. And you're trying to meet that deficiency, and that's what causes women to, it's a mind blowing thing to see someone meet someone, not what you are, and decide you're going to make that person and then be shocked when they aren't what you made. There's a store in the mall, in some malls, called Build-A-Bear. And then there's a place in some women's basement called Build-A-Man. And, she...
Some man's basement. If I had a basement, it'd probably be a Build-A-Man in that.
And for instance, I listen, I've been guilty of, I'm not going to sit here and pretend, because listen,
Absolutely.
we will not get anywhere without being real and realizing those things that we self-harmed, those things that we did to ourselves, and to get somebody, because you took him shopping and because you took him to a nice restaurant or you dressed him up and, now all of a sudden he's on your arm looking the part. And those people on the outside don't know it looks to them like it's supposed to look. And then you inside upset because it's not looking like it looked to everybody outside, when you knew what you bought from the store wasn't what you ordered. And then you're upset because what you ordered is not there. No, you accept. It's like going to the store and you ordered, when I was in Philly, foolishness, I went and ordered a cheesesteak and they told me to come and pick it up in 40 minutes. I go to the store to pick it up and the guy says, "What's your order?" And I said, I had a cheesesteak with onions and peppers and he was like, "Oh, I got a cheesesteak platter here." And I said, "No, that's not what I ordered." He said, "I got cheesesteak and everything, but we're closing now." He gave somebody else my order and he wanted me to take what was there. And he said, "Well, for $5, we closing now." So, and I said, "No, I'll wait for another." He said, "I'm not turning the grill back on." So it was either I took what he had for $5 or I left with nothing. I left with nothing. Rather than to take what I didn't want and what I didn't eat. And let me tell you something. If I use up those calories with my fine self these days, it's got to be something I enjoy. Okay? And there was no way I was going to, even for $5 for you lowering the price. And I said all that to say there is no way you can dress up anything for me that I don't want that's not going to mean me any good. Okay?
Absolutely.
And listen, when I got to this place, it blew my mind to the point where it's like, for me, when you talked about the common denominator factor, this is what I say. If you're driving and you pass by and you say, "Oh, okay, that's Grand Avenue. Okay, that's Hill." And then you drive a little bit and then you come around and say, "That's Grand Avenue. And that's Hill." And then you turn around and 15 minutes later, that's Grand Avenue. Wait a minute. I'm lost. I keep seeing the same thing over and over. I'm lost. So that lets me know I'm lost. I kept feeling the same pain over and over at the hands of different people. That don't make sense, sis. How you keep ending up right here at between Grand and Hill with different folks? Because you keep using the same formula, you keep using the same directions, you keep using the same expected, because that plan that I had since a child, and it had to look like this, and it had to, match this. And that's what the problem is, that we're looking for things that don't exist. Fairy tales.
Well, another part of that search is because we aren't fully accountable, right? For a number of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
No self-healing, how we were raised, whatever however or whatever got you to that place. And as you talked about earlier, that deficiency being there,
Mm-hmm.
because it hasn't been cured or healed, one, it's a cycle, but two, you continue to look for the familiar.
Correct.
You continue to look for what makes sense for you. But because your mind and your heart hasn't wrapped around that this isn't what makes sense, you continue to look for that over and over. And so people, although there are 7 billion people in the world, we are alike in so many different ways. We fit the
Mm-hmm.
same personalities, our signs, whatever that is that makes us common. And so there are 10,000 of the same person out there in the world. And you keep meeting one of that 10,000 who allows you to repeat the pain, repeat the pain and repeat the hurt because you haven't dealt with this yet. And
Right. And
so it's so important to be whole before you
that's
go out.
exactly
Somebody
what,
else make you.
yeah, that's another thing that I pointed out is that that being lost is simply an indication of, healing that needs to take place. And healing simply means that there's a tear, there's a separation. There's been a separation. So however you have to glue it, whether you are going to staple it, whether you're going to do whatever, these two parts have to come back in. And essentially, for us to be whole, that just simply means that all the parts come back together. So what happens is there's so much separation and we're trying to fill those spaces instead of rejoining those parts. We're filling in that gap in between, with all kinds of mess. And that still keeps the separation, So, and that's one of the things that listen, call me Harriet Tubman. I've never been so joy-filled in my existence. I have never been so happy in my entire life.
Harriet Tubman.
Call me Harriet Tubman because I'm going back and get everybody now. I feel like I got to go back and get my sisters. I got to let those people that are suffering like I was at my own hand know that they are causing themselves the same harm. That your value is way above rubies, and that no matter what anyone says, just because you listen at 54, and I'll be 54 in 2 weeks, and fine as I am.
Come on, fine.
As fine as I am, there is no one behind me that is worthy of the me today. So there's nothing behind me that I'm going to look back there for to come up to this place. So therefore, everything in front of me, and because of the level at which I love myself, my mind is blown as what's going to be presenting itself to me. I do desire a partner, but my partner has to be an equal. And that equal meaning his love for himself far exceeds his love for me. And therefore, I don't have to do no extra work because, listen, I'm not bringing no mess to you and I don't want no mess brought to me.
Most times, again, because of that desperation, we are willing to carry people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll put it in a duck and eagle analogy. A duck can't soar with the eagles, but an eagle, because of its strength, right, and because of your ability to love yourself the way you do, because of your ability to experience life. Somebody on IG, Brandon Paul said, it's about your exposure and your perspective. Because you're able to see that and do that, you're able to pick the duck up and carry the duck.
Mm-hmm.
But because the duck can't survive in that altitude and atmosphere, your focus will be on making sure the duck's okay, neglecting yourself.
That's right. And that is because you are experiencing abnormal use or abuse. And you are abusing yourself to see to it that this person stays at this altitude, which is below where you belong.
And causing you extra work. I don't want to work
extra
hard.
work and wait. Come on now. Which again, brings us back to that first point where love being easy.
It's easy at this age and this stage and at this point.
Come on now.
I don't want to
easy, I don't want it.
If it's not easy.
If it's not easy, I don't want it.
I don't want it. And I'm standing by that. I'm not chasing you. I'm not making you love me. I'm not making sure you call me and text me. I don't have to want to follow behind you and worry about who you with and who you texting, who you talking to. Get a life.
Well, first of all,
you get a life.
Yeah, those things, that's a whole nother show, honey. Someone said personal development occurs at different rates depending on the individual. It's nice to have such an enlightened perspective, but that comes with time. And you know what? It doesn't come with time. It doesn't come with time. It comes with acknowledgement, because as soon as the light went on for me, it had nothing to do with time. It was just that most of the time our chair is facing this way. And if I said to you, Ben, there's this picture of this gorgeous baby behind you. In order for, if you didn't have that screen, yes, I know who it is. But if you didn't have that screen to see it over your shoulder, you'd have to turn your chair in order to see what I saw.
Yeah.
So your perspective is different than mine. And a lot of times our perspective is rigid because of our upbringing. Our perspective is rigid because of who we're around. So we don't have these views or these things presented to us. And sometimes because for me, once that one time I saw it, it was like, whoa, wait. When I saw, there was this thing about, it was something simple as mental filtering and how I, as a person who I was a waterhead. My feelings got hurt so easily. And I'm talking about up to 50. I'm not talking about up till I was 25. No, my feelings got hurt as recent as 50. I would cry at the heartbeat with someone who I cared about said, did, or did something, right? It never even dawned on me that my filtering was causing that. It had to be them. They need to think about before they open their mouth and say something. So if I have a pitcher of white, just clear water, and I have a glass, and I'm pouring the water into the glass, what goes in this glass is water. But if I put a filter here, and I put some coffee grains, and I pour that water, you're going to see brown water because it's been affected by the filter that it went through. So me, with all my sensitive feelings and my insecurities and my whatever comes out of your mouth goes through my pain, and I receive that the way I received that. No way. But had I now, my higher self takes time and says, wait a minute, who is this coming from? I never immediately project my first thought anymore.
Ooh,
I allow my higher self to have a word in the conversation. And I then say, wait a minute, who's this coming from?
Who is speaking?
Who is speaking?
What trauma is speaking?
What is it? The 8-year-old little girl who won her daddy? Is it the insecure 13-year-old girl who wished she had designer clothes and everybody else had them and she thought she was this? So when you said something look a mess, I automatically take that tears because I was teased when I wish I had name brand. Like, you got to realize who is showing up in these places. And if you don't get those people healed, those people will be running your life. But listen, that is another show. Amen.
We can't have, Charlie, we got to bring you back because listen, it is, I always say, as like when people respond to something, right? I say, oh, that's not me, that's you. Because I know my intent, I know my tone, I know what I meant. Your interpretation of that and how you feel about that is everything going on inside of you.
Mm-hmm. Who's showing up, baby? Because I can tell you who was showing up in each one of those times when I had retrospect.
And I'm such an enlightened person now at this stage, in this age, that, like you said, I do not just immediately respond. I have to figure out is that rejection talking? Because we got to be real about our feelings and emotions.
Keep it 100.
Is that rejection talking? Is that self-doubt talking? Is that unworthiness talking? Or is it the spirit? Does it make sense? What is it? And before I get it out, like, I don't accuse people. I don't hold people responsible for my feelings. I don't hold people responsible for my love. I don't hold people responsible for how that made me feel. Because if I'm a strong, enlightened person, you can't say nothing. Oh,
no one can make you feel anything.
Nothing.
No one can. If I say to you right now, Ben, get mad. Get mad. I'm trying to make you get mad. Why do you choose now not to do that? But if I say something that's
call me ugly so I can laugh.
Okay. So the most mind-blowing thing is that you control how you respond. People are not in control of you. You or whoever at that moment, it says, but triggers are a real thing. That's what a trigger is. The person who's triggered is the 5-year-old. The person that's triggered is the person who needs the healing. That's your indicator. The trigger is your indicator.
Acknowledge it and then deal with it. Most
Acknowledge it and
people are
deal with it.
unwilling
Triggers
to
are
go.
real. There's no such thing as a trigger for me now. You know why? Because there's nothing anyone can say to trigger me. Because I removed that power from those people. Because if they know that they have a trigger, then they can trigger you. And they will use that.
I've honestly dealt with all my triggers in therapy. Now, there may be some that come up in more therapy sessions, but the
Absolutely.
ones that I have acknowledged, the ones that have been unearthed, I've dealt with,
Accountability.
and I've been accountable to me. Accountable to me. No one else is
Accountability.
responsible for I've had conversations with people that I didn't get the results I was looking for, but yet I'm still healed and I dealt with it because it's
I'm here.
not theirs, it's mine. I'm accountable to me. Me first.
Period.
Love me first.
Love me first. Take care of me first. Okay? And all else. Then that way, because I love me, because I'm full, and now I'm not out here loving without a license. Because that's what's happening. Folks is out here. Listen, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. The second commandment is like unto it. Love your neighbor as yourself. And people say that that's the issue. Nobody's loving their neighbors as themselves. Yes, they are. They absolutely are. If they're self-sabotaging, you can expect sabotage. If they doing whatever they doing themselves, expect that. How are they loving them? That's exactly how they're going to love you. So expect that. So what has to happen is people have to get healed, get filled, and then they can do. Because how are you loving me when you ain't loving you? You don't know what love is. You're gonna love me based on your level.
It is the feeling after the healing for me.
Mama
Because you don't stop at healing, but you get refilled with what has depleted you. You get refilled from what has depleted you.
Listen.
It wasn't, and I was a very, very, our mutual friend, your godson, my best friend, Chris G's, can tell you that I was one of the most judgmental people you could ever meet.
Oh, I learned that in the Church of the Most High God.
I mean, everybody was going to hell.
Listen.
You couldn't do nothing. You couldn't curse. You couldn't listen to Beyonce. Now Beyonce. I mean, you couldn't do anything.
Honey, I said how I look low. I know where you're at.
I judged me harshly. I did not love me harshly. I did not love me to the fullest. When I finally got healed from 2012 to 2015, 3 years of a healing process for me to accept who I am as a proud gay Black man. The moment I got to my place of healing and started filling myself up with words of affirmation, words of self-worth, words of love, oh my God, my perspective on the whole entire world changed. I treated people differently. I talked to people differently. I had grace for people in a different way. Once you do that inner work, because it's always an inside job. Love is an inside job. You can't give any more than you have.
Inside job. That is it.
You can't give any more than you have.
It's an inside job.
It's false. It's performative. It's not real. Because people pretend love every day.
Listen, well, some pretend love and some are loving just the way they were taught or dreamed or thought, whatever that thing looks like. You know what I mean? So, that is where we come in and we love people where they are and we allow them to be who they are and we separate their actions from them and then we separate ourselves from whatever that action is if it's unfavorable to us. And that's the next subject we're going to talk about when you come back because it's time for us to wind it up. And you know how me and you, we can go. I am so glad that you took time and that from your social media break and everything that's going on because listen,
fast that fast.
You are listen. It's 4:03. Also, you were like, you're like the Tommy Strong of the group. You're like the guy that does everything. Everybody knows. Ben is that guy. Like, what do Ben do? You know what I do. Y'all know what I do. I do that. We like Tommy.
Even my own family.
You ain't got no job. You ain't got no job, Tommy.
I don't.
I know it was down my job. Y'all know what I do.
Thank God.
Listen, ain't that a good? It's a great feeling to not get up and punch nobody's clock.
I mean, now,
Listen, nobody's clock, and I go when when I'm ready, I'm there, and when I'm not, I've paid the cost to be this boss.
I was up till 5 this morning prepping for an amazing presentation with some beautiful educators in Boston. And I was willing to make that sacrifice. Do you think I'm getting up at 5 a.m. tomorrow?
Well,
I mean, do you
probably
think I'm
not.
gonna be up working till 5? I mean, so it's
Well, it
not.
all depends. Well, it all depends on this food that I'm cooking back here for you might have you up thinking about it all night long. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Benjamin Carlton is with us. Thank you so much, my brother. I
Thank
appreciate
you
you
so much
so
for
much.
having me. You know I love you, and please invite me
Listen,
back.
I will
anytime.
definitely invite you back. There's going to be a panel that I'm going to have you on, so I'm
People
excited.
say they want more of it. They love.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I love you, and thank you again so much for coming on and joining us. And we will definitely see you next time. Ladies and gentlemen, Benjamin Carlton, I'm your host, Coach D, and we will see you guys next Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Thank you. Love you, Benjamin. Bye. Thank you, guys.
Bye bye.
Bye.